There comes a moment in every person's life when they look around and wonder, why am I still here? Why are you still stuck in the same city, the same habits, the same relationships, the same fears? Why do other people seem to move forward while you remain trapped inside the same invisible cage? Most people blame bad luck. They blame their parents. They blame society. They blame the economy. But what if the real reason is much darker? What if you're stuck because a part of you refuses to grow up? Not because you can't, because you won't. And the most dangerous thing about this refusal is that it doesn't feel like immaturity. It feels like comfort. It feels like safety. It feels like being yourself. But beneath that comfort lies a psychological prison that grows stronger every year. And if you don't confront it, you may wake up one day at 50 years old living the same emotional life you lived at 17. The hidden addiction nobody talks about. People think adulthood begins when you get a job, or when you pay bills, or when you move out. Psychologically, adulthood begins much later. It begins the moment you stop expecting someone else to save you. Most people never reach that point. Deep inside, they are still waiting for a perfect opportunity, waiting for motivation, waiting for the right partner, waiting for confidence, waiting for life to finally begin. But life has already begun. The years are moving whether you're ready or not. And while your body grows older, your mind can remain frozen in childhood. This is what psychologists call psychological immaturity. It happens when a person wants the rewards of adulthood without accepting its responsibilities. They want success without discipline, love without vulnerability, respect without competence, freedom without sacrifice. And because reality refuses to give them these things, they become bitter, not at themselves, at the world. According to the ideas of Carl Jung, every person carries unconscious parts of themselves. Some parts are wise, some are destructive, and some never grew up. Inside many adults lives a frightened child who still wants comfort above all else. That child hates uncertainty, hates criticism, hates failure, hates responsibility. So whenever growth demands discomfort, that child takes control. You decide to start a business. The child whispers, "What if you fail?" You want to approach someone you like. The child whispers, "What if they reject you?" You want to change your life. The child whispers, "Maybe tomorrow." And tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. Then one day you realize an entire decade disappeared. Not because you lacked potential, because the child inside you was driving the car. Most people think suffering is the enemy. It isn't. Comfort is. Pain forces adaptation. Pain forces awareness. Pain forces growth. Comfort does the opposite. Comfort tells you everything is fine, even when your life is slowly collapsing. You stay in jobs you hate because they're familiar. You stay in relationships that drain you because they're predictable. You repeat the same routines because they're safe. And every year, the walls of your comfort zone become thicker. Eventually, the prison doors open, but you're too afraid to walk through it. This is one of the cruelest ironies of human psychology. The cage often becomes more comfortable than freedom. Children live in fantasy. Adults live in reality. The problem is that many people never leave fantasy behind. They fantasize about becoming successful. They fantasize about becoming attractive. They fantasize about becoming powerful. But fantasy creates a dangerous illusion. It gives you the emotional reward without requiring the work. For a few moments, imagining success feels almost as satisfying as earning it. So the brain becomes addicted to dreaming. Years pass, nothing changes. The fantasy remains.
reality stays the same. This is why some people spend decades talking about what they're going to do. They aren't building a future, they're protecting a dream from reality, because reality might reveal they aren't as special as they imagined. Here's a truth many people never admit. They don't fear failure, they fear discovering they're ordinary. As children, many of us believed we were destined for greatness. The world felt full of possibilities. Then reality arrived. Reality doesn't care about potential. Reality only rewards action. And suddenly a terrifying choice appears. You can remain in fantasy and keep believing you're special, or you can enter reality and risk finding out you're average. Most people choose fantasy, not consciously, but psychologically, because fantasy protects the ego. Reality challenges it. This is why growth feels threatening. Growth forces you to confront what you actually are, not what you imagine yourself to be.
Victimhood can become an identity, and identities are hard to abandon because they provide meaning. If every problem is someone else's fault, then you never have to change. If your life is controlled by external forces, then you're not responsible for your situation. At first, this feels comforting, but eventually it becomes poisonous, because the same belief that protects you from guilt also destroys your power. The moment you surrender responsibility, you surrender control. You become a spectator in your own life, watching, complaining, waiting, while years disappear. The harsh reality is this: you may not be responsible for everything that happened to you, but you are responsible for what happens next. This is the part nobody wants to hear. Growth is not addition. Growth is destruction. To become someone new, something old must die. Old habits, old identities, old excuses, old friendships, old beliefs. The person you were at 16 cannot carry you through 30. The person you are today cannot carry you through the next decade. Every stage of life demands a psychological death, and most people resist it, because death, even symbolic death, is terrifying. So they cling to outdated versions of themselves. They remain loyal to identities they've already outgrown, and their lives stop moving, not because they lack opportunity, because they refuse to let the past die. Imagine two futures. In the first future, you choose discomfort. You face rejection, failure, embarrassment, uncertainty. You grow, slowly, painfully, but you grow. In the second future, you avoid all of those things. You stay comfortable, safe, protected. Years later, you wake up and discover something horrifying. The pain you avoided never disappeared, it multiplied. Now it has become regret, and regret is far heavier than fear. Fear asks, what if I fail? Regret asks, what if I could have become someone else? One question haunts the future, the other haunts the present. The truth is that growing up has very little to do with age. Some people are adults at 18, others remain children at 60. Growing up begins the moment you stop negotiating with reality, the moment you stop waiting for motivation, the moment you stop blaming circumstances, the moment you accept responsibility for your own transformation, because nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody is coming to unlock your potential. Nobody is coming to build your future. The life you want exists on the other side of discomfort. The person you could become exists on the other side of fear. And the reason you're stuck may not be because the world is holding you back. It may be because a part of you is still clinging to childhood, refusing to let go, refusing to grow, refusing to become the person your future is waiting for.
And until that part dies, nothing else can be born.